Hi guys, welcome to our first lecture that you're going to be watching on the computer. I hope this all works great for you. We're going to be creating a different kind of classroom this year where you're going to be watching a lot of these videos. So I hope you learn well and pay attention because I'm going to go kind of quick. Now if I start going too quick, at any time you can pause the video and you can go back and you can fill in your blanks as you need. Okay? Today we're going to be examining the different types of states. We're going to be investigating different types of governments and learning about alliances and international organizations. I'm also going to show you a pretty strange video at the end that's going to explain exactly the differences between the different government types. Here are your vocab words that you should have defined for DBW. Okay. Every modern nation has established a government. A government is there to enforce laws, okay? So a state is a region that shares a government. What do we mean by that? Well, in the United States we have a region. It's called the Midwest. Inside that region there is a state that has a government. That's called Indiana. Hope that makes sense. A long, long time ago, city-states were the first real states. A city-state was just like a small city. Mesopotamia is what we're going to learn about, and that had many, many different city-states set up and formed in it. Okay? So more than 5,000 years ago, the first city-states were formed in Southeast Asia. That's Mesopotamia, Assyria, Babylonia. All of these were the first city-states. Later on, military leaders came around and they combined these city-states into larger areas called empires. Now, you don't need to know everything I'm saying, but you do need to know the difference between a city-state and an empire. Europe was the first to create a nation-state. Okay, so a nation-state was one that had a federal government. Okay, so when governments came around, nation states were formed. The rulers then went out and formed dependencies or colonies, which later became independent and formed new nation states. Both nation states and dependencies have common bodies of laws. So what does that mean? Well, if you use Puerto Rico for an example, they are a dependency of the United States. They're like a colony, but they have the same kind of laws that we do. Every place in the world where people live is part of a nation state or a dependency. There is no part of the world that is not have a government leading over it. There's no place in the world where you can just go and there's no laws. So take a look at this map of Africa. Long time ago, Africa used to be part of Europe because each one of the states that you see was once a dependency upon Europe. Now they all have their independence, and you see all the different nation states that exist in Africa today. So what are the different types of governments that rule over these nation states? First, you have a direct democracy. This was a very early form of government and does not exist today. This is where all adults take part in the decision making. However, today you do still have tribal rule, okay? And tribal rule is where different tribes have elders that make decisions for the tribe. So this is not a very organized form of government. Inside a lot of countries in Africa, in the jungle, you have a lot of these types of governments, but they don't exist anywhere in the United States today. An absolute monarchy. An absolute monarchy from the 500s until the 1800s was your most popular form of government. This is a form of government that has a king or a queen that has total power. The problem with it is it's tough to give one person that amount of power. Today, Saudi Arabia is one of the only absolute monarchies in the world. The next form of government we're going to study is a dictatorship. A dictatorship is something where a ruler seizes power and remains in power almost totally by force. Okay? So the most famous dictator that you might remember is Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler came into power by force and he did not give it up. Other examples include Cuba, Libya, and North Korea. Libya, sort of, today. An oligarchy. This is something where you have a small group of people who have political control. In Iran, something called the Muslim Brotherhood has total control. They are a small group of people. Now you have a constitutional monarchy. Besides our type of government, this is the most popular form of government today. A constitutional monarchy has a king and a queen, but they don't have any political power. The real political power sits with an actual Senate or a parliament or a government in which people make the decisions. The king or the queen are just there to kind of wave their hands and look real pretty, okay? So in a way, you could say our classroom is a constitutional monarchy, because I look good. Okay, a representative democracy. A representative democracy is what we have in the United States. This is a government where people indirectly choose the form of government they have or choose what's happening by choosing their leaders. So when we go and vote, we are indirectly making decisions in the government. We're saying, I like the way this guy thinks. I think he should make all of the decisions, okay? So citizens can work to change laws that displease them, and the biggest example is the United States, Canada, and India. Okay, now to international organizations. All these different countries have trouble getting along sometimes, whether it be financially or whether it be an actual issue between them. So we need international organizations to work between these countries to solve problems. Economic problems like the EU or the European Union. Disputes amongst nations are solved by the United Nations. And humanitarian causes, UNICEF. So humanitarian causes would be like when people run out of food and you need food. Nations sometimes form alliances which help each other with defense. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization is one of these types of alliances. So it basically helps protect smaller nations from bigger nations. Okay, so that ends our notes for today. I hope I didn't go too fast, but again, if I did, you can go back, you can pause it, and you can get your blanks filled in. Okay, here comes the video.
Network. I'm your host, Snurdy, and today's story is about 4 different types of government: absolute monarchy, constitutional monarchy, dictatorship, and representative democracy. Right now, reporter Fluffy Wuffly is in Swaziland exploring the vibe of the last absolute monarchy in the world. Fluffy.
I think this video was made by kids.
Right now, I'm in the Swaziland jungle where most of the population is. Swaziland has a king named Mswati III, who was born into his leadership when he was 2.5 years old. Now that's just young. The life expectancy here is 31 years overall, but the king has always lived longer. The previous king was 82. That's all. The next in line for the throne might be a big argument. The Swati the Third has 24 kids. Well, actually, Snud, I gotta go. Dinner's gonna get served soon. Thank you, Fluffy. Now, Ryan the Lion in Cuba.
I told you it was strange.
Ryan. Hey, Snoot, stop. Okay. I'm here in the province of Villa Clara in Cuba, and it's very beautiful, and I'm learning Las and Lasa Spanish. Check this out. Aloha, Cuba. Pretty good, no? Okay. Anyway, here in Cuba, a man named Fidel Castro dictated the country with his brother, Ralph. Well, Fidel is retired now, but his brother mainly reigns over the Cuban area. Well, that's our brief summary of dictatorship in Cuba, Snurd. Back to you. Okay, thanks, Ryan. Now, Pork Chop is in England to talk about constitutional monarchy. Porky. Oh my gosh, I'm here in front of Big Ben, the clock in England. Well, we're here to talk about the Queen, so let's get to it. Queen Lizzie is a great queen and she serves well for her country with great pride and power. She's a patron of over 600 organizations that are designed to help children, the needy, and things like that. Prince Charles, however, is more of a sports guy. He played polo until an accident in 1971. He then competed in carriage racing, a sport in which he helped expand. Well, Snurd, I gotta go. The Big Eye's opening soon. Seriously? These people keep leaving me. Okay, so you have learned a little bit about absolute monarchies, dictatorship, and constitutional monarchies. What's missing? Representative democracy. The U.S. is a representative democracy, actually. Barack Obama is the leader that we voted for to be the president of our country. Oh, look at the time. That's all we have for today, but we'll see you next time on the Government Systems Network.